natal me yalonko isala jol kende andi anu isa senen inatale pour ka ji kendo ji sena wonatale Gambia banko kanja jio mi yalonko atal mantorala anu jio diata ba one stop water solutions limited ye filter le natal me yalonko alse muna fanganola alla pompol isala jiol tenteng ya senendi coming alla fala nyame naketa pompoti bang abo holo fo nawek la pipe wala a filter sifa o sifa one stop solutions ya natale 10-inch filter set of 3 ya sotale filter me yalonko asidiota aya tenteng natara banko le ba kono fa kenyo wala kankan be bije sa be bon filter fana member ko 12-inch set of 3 filter me yalonko asidiota aya dada aya senendi mense beta alla jata kende ato fana sotale CTO block carbon filter o fana mu filter me yalonko asi chemical o bonnino jiol kono le mense beta alla jata kende ya filter member ko CTO block carbon mensi jiola chemical o be bondi akono pour alla jata kende ya sa hen nim filter sabol be kiliwo kilina pansundoku ngawata tankol fana sotale kabrim 500 5000 fokata 10000 liters plumbing fittings fana be mol bulle alsimol tarano sukuta highway Mariama Kunda Johnson wala isimol kumandi 505 5691 796 8272 one stop water limited solutions inatale ka jikuo be sonende Gambia banko.
Good morning there. You're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jena Bosonko with here my amazing co-host, Ibrahim Balde.
Yes, Jena, it's good to be here again. It's Wednesday morning, and we are about to roll. It's this morning.
Yeah, but you came late today.
Yes, stay home. Actually, I woke up very early.
Okay.
Why? After I went back to bed, I mean,
you're tired.
I mean, I said, let me just relax.
Sometimes
it happens.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
because considering the activities that you do during the day, sometimes you go home very late. You know, waking up, sometimes it's a problem.
Yeah, but generally, what do you like to have breakfast with? Mbahal wala lan?
Well, I don't have a specific thing that I take.
But
for
langa
breakfast.
prefer?
Sometimes I take rui.
In the morning?
In the morning.
Okay.
You know, time to time I buy it and bring it along. Although when I'm eating it in the office, people don't see me.
Then they laugh.
I don't eat it. Yeah.
Anyway, like you said, I mean, we do not have anything specific that we get to eat.
Sometimes I take mbahal, sometimes, you know.
Whatever comes your way. And considering the work that we do, it's not specific what we can eat.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's just whatever comes.
You are always on the rush to
exactly.
go do your thing.
To just get it.
And I want to reduce these oily foods too.
You need to.
Too much of oil in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. You know, I want to reduce
And you promised that you will exercise and you never did. So
sometimes I eat gari and go to bed.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Why gari this nadi bro?
Wow. I'm going to go madam. Lu ñew suma mind below la de ma doha rek dem tida.
So if you're watching on social media, please tell us your favorite breakfast. Let us know what your favorite breakfast is. What do you love to have in the morning? Let us know. Maybe we can learn from it or get to, you know, try some of the recipes there. So welcome back to the program. You're watching QTV this morning. And as usual, we have the African proverb here. We have the newspaper review today as well. We'll be joined by Mar Nyang. He'll be helping us analyze some of the stories that we have in the papers. And aside from that, Gambia Participate has findings of the COVID-19 food aid as an investigation. I mean, if you know what Gambia Participates does, you would know that it's that civil society organization that is working towards curbing corruption. So they decided to have an investigation when it comes to the COVID-19 money, specifically the COVID-19 food aid. And on Community Watch today, very interesting topic, something that's so dear to my heart, which is the welfare of children with Down syndrome in the Gambia. I love reporting and dealing with issues that has to do with children and just individuals with special needs. So I'm happy that today we'll be taking a look at Down syndrome in this program for the first time and targeting children. And aside from that, on social issues, we'll be joined by the Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture. And we'll be talking about recovery mechanisms that the Tourism Ministry has put in place, the arrivals of flights and just everything. We know how much the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected the tourism industry. The last time I visited the craft market, and they told me that they're still suffering from the impact of the COVID-19. So we want to get to know the achievements of the tourism ministry despite challenges put there by the COVID-19 pandemic. So apart from that, One Stop Water Solution are our partners here, as well as Surawa Kamara Unified IT Institute for all of your IT needs, ranging from certificate, Cisco, diploma, you name it. Whatever you need around that, please stop by, give them a call, and they will help you with whatever you need when it comes to IT and for all of your water needs, which is obviously purifying your water, ranging from water tanks, dispensers, sediment filters, you name it. Head right on to One Stop Water Solution, window shop, you name it. Mun nañ la may sax so yow dema rek jóga rek so sa dala dem lo fa fekk rek nga xamne moy nonu. So what is our African proverb?
All right, Janaba, once again it's good to be here, and you know, we're saying hi to our follower in
Philippines.
I mean, the young lady.
The young Koku young de.
Young.
Wow, auntie in Philippines. Thank you so much for always watching this morning. Yo kid na la do rek isu degon all of na do remit.
Why it is always nice when you call someone young lady. Is it not? Yes. Okay, let's take a look at our African proverb. A crowd can easily overpower a bull. A crowd can easily overpower a bull.
A crowd can easily overpower a bull.
Yes.
So man,
as much as I'm not very good at interpreting proverbs,
Bimom,
I know it.
Anyway, we'll use this opportunity to welcome Mar Nyang. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Thank you so much. It's always good to have you here.
It's always a pleasure to join you and Bobby, really, and I look forward to the discussion today.
Yes, it's always fun, entertaining, and educative. That's why we're here. So today, a crowd can easily overpower a bull. What comes to my mind is 2016. 2016 comes to my mind when Gambians came together and said, we are tired of autocratic rule and we want a democracy. That's what comes to my mind when I take a look at something like this. We know how powerful a bull is, and we know how it can even, you know, kill hundreds of people when they want to like capture the bull or something. But if people come together, if the harmony is there, if the unity is there, you can fight it. Whoever imagined that people will stand against Yaya Jammeh or protest against Yaya Jammeh on the streets? No one expected it, but Gambians came together and said, enough is enough, and we want to change the narrative, and they changed it. That is because they came together. And mind you, if we do not continue as a country to be together, to be unified, and accept the laws put in place, ranging from our elections, ranging from just different things that the Constitution demands, we will lose it. So the unity that we put up at that point in time, if it doesn't continue, we will lose it. It's just like right now, people saying that the December 4th presidential elections are rigged, something like that. But when, I'm not here to decide if that is so or not, but obviously going by the authorities, if they believe that that did not happen, and going by what international observers have said, and one sitting right in front of me, which is Gambia, participates, let us now come together as a country and fight for a common good. Moving forward, we have our parliamentary elections coming. Let's also show unity from there. If we do that, then things will work. Mar, what do you think about this proverb?
Yeah, I mean, you are really right. But before I go deep into it, I just wanted to say congratulations on your graduation. I think you are one of the journalists setting the pace for the young ones also coming. So congrats.
Thank you so much.
I think there is no other adjective that you could have used than, or an example that you could have used than that of the 2016 elections. We had a very big, sophisticated, heavy bullhead that was so entrenched in the seat of the presidency, supported by different limbs of the bull that were holding or that were strengthening his seat on that power. And then, I mean, like you said, the crowd, the citizens
came
with all the power. They just used a very small, that do not even weigh, I believe, less than 1 kilo, that is the marble, to cast their vote and then get rid of that bullhead. And I think, like you said, for us to be able to, you know, kick off of a system that is really not convenient or not to the best interest of the citizens, we need to speak one voice. If we keep speaking different voices, then that gives the autocrat leaders the opportunity to divide and rule. So if they are successful in dividing and ruling, then we are not going to be able to achieve our common good. So you are really right. I think unity is one thing that we have manifested in the 2016 political impasse, but right after that, things started moving south.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's not been helping us. When we see something wrong and we wanted to address it, there's another force that says, let the government do its work. Who is the government?
Us.
We are the government.
Right.
So we have to make sure we also support the government by making sure they do what is right. Because I know it's not also the interest of the government for their administration to fail. And sometimes you think you are doing the right thing, but you are not. The one outside can actually rectify the things that you're doing.
And you know, Mar, there's this attitude that I see in Gambia right now, and I don't think it's good for us, which is people saying, yen yena fi votal baro leka len souf. So ñoo leka souf, ñun ñëppay leka souf. Majority bi decide na ne kii lañ fi tek. Majority ba ko decide de. Understand nga? So fi mu nekk nii the only thing luñ mën a def mooy xam nañ ne kii moo fi war a nekk for 5 years ñëw together dimbale ko moo gën because leka suuf su amee sa family tam mu ngi fi dañoo leka suuf.
So seetee there is nothing that's gonna change that.
Dara.
Talk na ba pare. I mean, I don't think ne make no sense ñu dem back and forth. What is important ñu ñëpp ñu ñëw. Why as much as we have all these proverbs, as much as people know unity is strength, ba léegi people don't abide by this proverb. Di nga gis a whole lot of ñuy divide, ñii di wax fële ñii di wax as te xam nañ ne suñ booloo rek dañoo mën a achieve suñ intention. Why it's still very difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Ba pare one thing li nga xamante ne war nañ ko xam mooy the common strategy that African politicians use in order to get re-elected or to be elected in an elective position is to do divide and rule. Right, and that is to poison the minds of the other people in order for them not to vote for the other party. But once they get into the office, they start bringing people to be united, and that's difficult because already you've given them a different, how to call it, perspective, and then different energy as to how to perceive an opposition and their followers. And now you want them to come back and then fix it. It's not going to work.
This scenario that happened yesterday. I met up with one of our National Assembly members around my end. He was in his vehicle and he came to me, "Hey Balde, how are you?" I said this and I said to him, "I hope after elections, if you win, you are going to do the same thing."
So that is our African proverb. That is how they are. That's how they are. And I think, Mar, just to end this, I think your contribution is excellent about the fact that the energy you project towards your opposition matters, because you are going to be the same individual who will have to fix everything at the end of the day. We need to take a look at that ahead of the parliamentary elections as we campaign. So let's go for a short commercial break. And when we come back, we'll head right on to the newspaper review. Do stay tuned.
Begin your SUV life. S-Pass Motors, the new authorized dealer for Kia. Visit us today or call us on 3522 222 353 2222.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. And if you've missed anything, head right on to our YouTube as well as Facebook page to catch up on what you have missed. So now we have Foria there.
Yes,
what does it say?
Exactly. Let's take a look at the headlines of the Foria newspaper. 19 women to contest April parliamentary elections. Gambia Press Union President urges journalists to do research, provide reliable content. And of course, IEC rejects 5 aspiring candidates. President Barrow pledges 5 million support for internally displaced persons in Fonyi. And we also have Gambia registers 10 new COVID-19 cases. And people are thinking there is no more COVID-19.
Yeah, there's a fatigue, Ibrahim.
Yes. And of course, National Auditor says medical items worth over $24 million procured without approval. This is what we have on the Foria newspaper.
All right, talking about procurement. With Mar, as time goes on, we will take a look at COVID-19 funds, seems they're already leading the way for us to start the conversation when it comes to that. But on the headlines there, we have that 19 women are vying for the parliamentary elections in different constituencies. I mean, this is something that we've discussed several times. There's no need to delve into it in depth, but considering we've never engaged you on it, I think it's fair that we ask you what your take is on the fact that there's only 19 women to whom we are not even guaranteed that they will win in the respective constituencies that they are. So what does this tell you?
Well, it tells me that there's still, you know, in our political system, there's not that much women representation in taking leadership positions. Because if you look at these 252 candidates, I believe 167 of these candidates are sponsored by political parties. And, you know, having 19 women out of 250, that's just about 7.5% of the whole candidates, the total candidates that are supposed to vie for these parliamentary elections. And like you said, we are not sure whether these 19 women will actually make it to the parliament. Right now, we have 3 elected parliamentarians that are female. The others are actually nominated. So we don't just want to be seen giving women parliamentary position because of they are just nominated, but we want the political parties for them to be able to make so in distributing their candidates, they look at the competence and also the gender balance aspect of it, so that the more women you have in the parliament, the more in fact credible and effective the parliament will be, because you're going to have different gender perspective in terms of dealing with policies. So when you have that gender balance in the National Assembly, if you're dealing with policies that is affecting women and children, women tend to see more they seem to show more affection and passion in making sure that the policy is a sound government policy. But also the other thing, I also believe, looking at the 85 independent candidates as well, still now there's this fear in the minds of the, how to call it, female politicians to come out and contest for elections because of our societal settings and the way they actually perceive. So I think that's also one of the things that they need to cut off. But first, it has to start with the political parties. Another thing, we've seen the women's bill that was supposed to reserve some seats at the National Assembly so that we can have a good number of women representation in that particular political institution. But it is not a surprise that the bill did not make it through. The civilized way to reject the bill was for the parliamentarians to abstain from voting the bill to go to the advanced stage. This was not about a politician, Tuma, making a history or trying to write her name that she was the one who put up this thing. This is about a whole gender population that is bigger than the female gender population, is bigger than that of the males, and that have been doing tremendously well in pushing for politicians to get elected. So I think really the brutal truth is female politician candidates are not taken seriously by politicians, right? They always used as a wheel to drive the interests of politicians, but never given, leadership positions. I mean, I think the only government institution that is doing well in terms of gender balance in leadership position is that of the judiciary, right? Where you then the Court of Appeal president was a female, and then also if you go to the Supreme Court seats, I believe 3 out of the 7 judges are actually females. But if you go to the cabinet as well, if I'm wrong, you can rectify me. I believe we have about 3.
Not a lot.
Ministers that are female. So I think.
But Mar, I think we should also recognize private sector institutions. I know of private sector institutions who are doing very well when it comes to empowering women. You can see, if you watch QTV News, you will see how Aji Bank is showing that most of its managerial positions are women. Majority of them are women. I have seen that, and I think we need to acknowledge also the private sector for empowering women, because when I saw that with Aji Bank, I was like, wow, this is good. And the fact that they're showing it throughout the month of March to show that as private sector institution, they believe in women.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I think the private sector is the biggest employment force, if I can put it that way. And then also if you go to the banks too, not only Aji Bank and the others, you also get to see more females that are being given a leadership position. But also to acknowledge certain government institutions like the National Human Rights Commission as well. They also have a good gender balance in their institutions. So I think in terms of politics, we're not doing better in
Yeah,
that.
but in other sectors. But moving on, we've seen that IEC has rejected 5 aspiring candidates there. I went through that story, but it wasn't specific when it comes to that interview as to why. I am disappointed that that story did not specify that, because for me,
I was looking for
that as well.
Rejected, I mean, by the IEC, but
it wasn't mentioned.
Well, I don't know whether that is the publisher or the writer of that
I'm
content.
not sure where the
but
problem lies.
But I am pretty sure if IEC rejects a particular candidate, they'll tell you why.
Yes, they give.
No,
they
give reasons.
Yes.
They give reasons
Yes.
as to why. But I mean,
be.
in this report,
Yes.
for me, if I see this headline, I'm rushing to go check to confirm, because this is coming from the communications person there. Then I'm expecting that they will delve further into to justify why these 5 people are rejected, but that is not the case when it comes to this particular story. But it also says that in previous years, candidates were rejected. I read that there, that candidates were rejected. Does this mean that at least they're kind of doing more scrutiny and accountability when it comes to having candidates for the parliamentary elections? Do you think so?
I don't know about that, but I know one thing. During the last parliamentary elections, there was one that was rejected, especially, I think the person is from the URR. The person was nominated, but during the public scrutiny, someone else actually brought some evidences that this person is unfit for parliamentary elections, and the person got his nomination rejected. So there was one in the previous year. And then I think now also IEC is being under the microscope by the civil society and that of the media, and then also by politicians to make sure that the IEC do what is right. So, and I think that's the reason why now they're being more careful in terms of giving nominating candidates, and then as well when rejecting, they actually rejecting based on law and the election guidelines and the criteria that one has to meet in order to be nominated as a parliamentarian. So, but then the IEC do not just reject and they say, oh, your nomination is rejected. They give reasons. And we can take one example, that's the Momodu Sabali case. They give him reasons why he was rejected. And I'm sure the other candidates too were given reasons. If they are not given reasons, they will have actually come out and then complain, but not only complain, but also take some legal actions. So I think, the IEC gave reasons why your nomination is rejected.
Yeah, this story.
Yeah, they did give reasons. I'm just actually talking about the story here because we base our discussions on our story.
Did not give full account of the story. It might be.
Or maybe it's a series. We will see another aspect of it.
But also, you are right. You are right. When someone else read this particular document without so the person can make a ultimate judgment that the IEC just rejected without giving no reason. So I think it should have gone deeper than where it started.
So let's talk about journalists ourselves. Here we have MS Bad, the GPU president, saying that we should do our research, we should double check before we say certain things. Yes, it's the power of the media. You know, we report on certain things that are not right, then the next minute something comes up. So why do you think there's a need for that? Especially when it comes to the work that you do, for us to double check on our side, to also allow you to do your work right, because you depend on us to also act on certain things.
Yeah, I think I once had this conversation with MS. There are so many journalists. Before I actually have a conversation with them, I have to get myself prepared. The people like you, and I sometimes give you a heads up, they don't hit me on my back during your interview. The journalists like Peter Gomez, the likes of Esther Williams, and then you name it, Momodu Mboch, you name it. You have to be prepared before you face these people, because they're going to ask you questions and follow up on them, because they make their research before they get to ask you questions. But not an interview whereby you just ask me the basic stuff, especially when it comes to the government. And I was having the same conversation with MS that sometimes government gives press release. So when they give press release, what we do is to copy and then publish it on our website as media houses. But we need to analyze the impact of that policy in the lives of the people. If it means going out there, interviewing people, or you making your desk research, collect facts, and then also see how that press release is also related to the further government press release and the impact that it has been having, both in our economy, in our, how to call it, the rule of law, the governance structure, and the like. We need to make this analysis and make sure that we come up with a just, how to call it, our content. But, you know, going beyond taking what the government want the people to hear and then put it out there. So I think really there has to be there has to be more work that should come from the journalist fraternity. But to also say that there has been some massive improvement that the journalists have also registered, right? From 2017 to date. And then also we've seen there are also some laws that really restrict media freedom, right? Which also needs to be talked about. So, and then you cannot also talk about access to information law without giving credit to the media fraternity for supporting this bill to be
it's difficult, Mar. Because the thing is, we need to move on now, but I need to say this. The thing is that there are still certain institutions in Gambia here, government institutions, to whom you have to write to for clearance to be able to interview them. I've experienced so much of that, whereby you would tell me, oh, you have to get a clearance before you can interview me. What is there to hide? That's the question. And most of the time, these are institutions that a lot of controversy is surrounding, and they get to use this clearance issue to cover up on themselves. I think all of these things need to improve. If they want journalists to also do their homework, let them give them the information for them to talk about it. Sometimes we are willing, but the information is not in our disposal. I think it's important that we use this platform to say that. But moving on, let's take a look at this COVID-19 food aid report by the Gambia Participates. So the COVID-19 food aid is a project of Gambia Participate that started in April 2021 to investigate the credibility of government's COVID-19 food aid procurement and distribution. So prior to the coming of this particular report, we've seen how at the Select Committee at the National Assembly, a lot of questions have been raised as to money that is even wasted. They call it wasted because considering the fact that it was not put in the right places, or they've procured things that they did not even need. And now, to further justify that, we have this particular report by the Gambia Participates. But while I went through it, I saw that you got different findings apart from the ones that were released by the Select Committee. So can you take us through that?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, Jay, it's also important to say that this is the biggest economic crime that has been committed during medical crisis in this country. And that's why we call it COVID-19 food aid, the pandemic haze. This massive plundering or mismanagement of this emergency food aid have made millionaires overnight. And the justification is this: there are some companies that we are not registered to do any procurement with the GPPA. They were given millions to actually procure and then provide this service to the government. And what they have also done is they inflated the government accepted price for rice, sugar, and oil. And then also we have seen government buying tons of bags of rice and sugar from Jimpex for it to be transported to the Makati Square. Guess what? They paid over $1 million in transportation.
For transportation.
From Jimpex all the way to Makati Square. If you are a supplier, Balde, and you have, and I bought like, not even you, but let's say for example, the Mauritanian shops that we see, especially in Burfoot, when they buy stuff from these shops, right? The shops facilitates the transportation of these goods to the Mauritanian shop. They drop it and they move to another shop and then deliver these materials. In our case, the government was not that. We bought like more than 500,000 products, right? And to transport this to the Makati Square, we have to pay extra. And this is not supposed to be the case. So over $1 million is wasted. And where it goes, I mean, it's not even supposed to be there in the first place. And then we've also seen companies that have been registered as a construction company given contracts for them to be able to deliver bags of rice and sugar. It's not in their domain. We've also seen individuals that are working in a government institution or in a committee, football committee.
Yeah, I've seen an individual member of the Gambia National Olympics Committee, Sports Committee, also benefited from the millions to supply food aid to the government. Single sourcing was favored over competitive bidding.
Because that was the easiest way to bid the system.
Yes.
Because if you have to do
competitive bidding.
Yeah, if you have to do open tender, it has to go through rigorous process to make sure that you have the qualification to be given these millions. But no, the single source. Because the thing was, like I said, it was a pandemic opportunity to create millionaires. And this is what has been done. And not only us, but the National Audit Office also have reported on this. The government sit back and then just listen. But we just wanted to make sure the government do what is right. This pandemic haze that we have experienced has happened during the Ebola crisis, right? The monies that we are meant to build isolation centers were never used, and lands that were also identified to build these isolation centers, and the money that was appropriated, they were never used. And these appropriations, I mean, the isolation centers are also not they're not there. And as a result, if it was there, we could have actually used those centers during this COVID-19 pandemic. The reality is, medical crisis always used as an opportunity to self-enrich. And I think there are some people that are really wicked in the system, that they do not care whether people are dying or they are suffering from the economic impact of the COVID-19. And that's the reason why, even in the distribution, we how to call it, dedicated this whole website. And we call it COVID-19 Food Aid Data Platform on COVID-19 and how the distribution was done. We went to 1,176 households across the country to hear from them how credible is the government's COVID-19 food aid distribution. The revelation, if you read the report, are just disheartening. Right? So, I mean, these institutions like NDMA, they have to be really looked at, because they have a huge role in these issues that we have reported. The same thing that the National Audit Office have also reported. The auditors, in our report, we have found out that there are certain bags of rice that were procured, but they never made it to the store. And the inventory was never taken. So how do we assess the credibility of those materials being delivered to where they are supposed to be delivered? And then during the distribution as well, because of the loopholes we've seen, how soldiers were also stealing from the bag of rice and selling them.
Yes. What do you think should be done to prevent such act maybe next time? We're not praying for any pandemic, but what should be done? Because this is a very serious form of taking a particular country's money, without going to the people.
As I'm speaking to you right now, there's someone else in the government trying to build the system to make millions. And day after day, we are seeing the government making statements that they are investigating these people. We've seen one at the GPA, the millions of dollars that are being misappropriated every week.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. They said they're going to investigate.
What about the central bank case?
The central bank case is also now going under the carpet.
The Gum Petroleum.
And then you name it. As I'm speaking to you, like I said, there are people trying to beat this. You know why? Because you have a weak accountability system. You have weak checks and balances system that is very easy to beat. So if the government wanted to stop this, the easiest thing to do, and that I have to now also, point my finger to the National Assembly for failing to legislate the anti-corruption bill, right? If you have had that strong accountability institution, they will have been the one investigating all of this, and then you know what, the law also gives them the right to prosecute.
The reality is, coming up with an anti-corruption commission, we've seen other commissions here. Those commissions are like the ECOWAS to Africa. Like, let's be honest here, they're like the ECOWAS. They just, back and they don't bite. Something like that. We have the Land Commission. We came up with a national think tank. We come up with commissions and things, and the changes are not there. So what change are you saying? What powers, extra powers, do you think can be given to the Anti-Corruption Commission in a way that it will back and bite?
The Anti-Corruption Commission bill actually have some very progressive provisions that actually give them the power to investigate books of the government and even banks. So they can investigate corruption in the private sector and then also that of the public sector. And also what they also, I think one of the things you were right, that limits the Anti-Corruption Commission is to buy. Because there is a provision in the Anti-Corruption bill that is in fact confusing itself, because it says the anti-corruption has the power to investigate and prosecute. But further down the bill, it says the Anti-Corruption Commission, before prosecution, has to get the consent of the Attorney General.
So what if the Attorney General says no, it will not happen?
Or what if the Attorney General himself or his boss or a staff or a friend of him is guilty?
Exactly.
So that is one of the things that we have recommended to the National Assembly.
The thing is, the money, we should not be also wasted. I mean, the general criticism of commissions in the Gambia is that the public there's a fatigue when it comes to setting up commissions. The Land Commission is here. All of these commissions. At the end, we have the National Human Rights Commission. They're doing well, yes, said and done, but they do not have certain powers to do certain things. Whatever the case might be, they have to go through the government.
And
that's
where,
just the reality.
But that's where the National Assembly comes in. That's why I was pointing my finger to the National Assembly. We have made this recommendation that these certain provisions have to be amended for the Anti-Corruption Commission to be a strong one.
I think this is a discussion for another day, Mar. It's a discussion for another day. Always good to have you here. We always fight it.
I know.
Yes, but anyway, it's all towards achieving the same thing. Thank you so much for joining us on the newspaper review, as well as taking us through your findings of the COVID-19 food aid investigation. Looking forward to other engagements with you. We will now go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at persons with special need, the welfare of children with Down syndrome in the Gambia, and we'll be joined by Omar Ba, a representative from the organization. When we come back, we'll get to have that discussion. Do stay tuned.
Light. From the beginning of time, light has been there.
It is integral to our survival and to our way of living.
We need light to work,
To build,
to grow things, and even to see our loved ones.
light makes things easier and better.
So QCell has changed the way you buy Q-Power to make it easier and more accessible.
You can now access the same service quickly and get your cash power tokens instantly with the new QCell Q-Power code.
To light up your world, simply dial *363#.
With a touch of your fingers,
With ease and convenience from the comfort of your home or office,
you can bring light into your world instantly with *363#.
Q-Power, lighting your world.
QCell Sunyabus.
We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. I am Jada Bosonko with my co-host Ibrahim Abalde. So now we are taking a look at the welfare of children with Down syndrome in the Gambia, and we're joined by the Secretary General of the organization, who is Omar Ba. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you here. We as a television station have just this delivery policy where we make sure to promote issues relating to persons with disability, or you may call it persons with special need. So can you just tell us the need to have this particular organization in the Gambia, which is trying to help children with Down syndrome, because I'm aware it's quite new.
Thank you so much, Geneva. First of all, I will join my colleague, that is Umar Nyang, who just stepped out, to congratulate you on your graduation.
Thank
and
you so
also
much.
thank my brother, Baldebana.
Thank you.
Thanks. The Welfare of Children with Down Syndrome is an organization established in 2021 with the sole aim of helping children with special needs. Sometimes we call them physically challenged children. As we rightly know, these children are neglected, they are vulnerable. So as an organization, we see that we can also form an organization to see how best we can support them financially, or even morally, for them also to be part of the society. Looking into consideration, there are a lot of children with special need or Down syndrome going within the streets, or they are not even taken care of by their parents, neither their guardians. So it's a responsibility for us also to give them that space, to have equal opportunity, and also for them to be involved in decision making, and also in anything that we are doing, for them to be included. So that was the reason why we established these organizations. By then, we were at central level, that is within KM and Banjul, but in October, November, we established a board, that is a council, where we have our board across the country. And then we supported children across the country too, as far as we have representatives in all these regions, focal persons in all these regions. We support children with special needs, with food aids, with cash, monthly cash support, and also we give them equipments or materials that they can use to support themselves, because we all know these special need children, sometimes they like entertainments, or they like materials that can at least upkeep them and make them feel good and feel to be part of the society. So we do all those supports to those children, and then all this support is I can say it was raised by Seitu Senabu, is the founder, based in UK but a Gambian. And also we have one board member in the UK, they are called Tunde. These are some of the stormmen that are behind these organizations. But despite that, we have been doing a lot of things. Last week we just launched the organization as the first ever organizations that is welfare of children with Down syndrome, where we invite stakeholders, politicians, and even government officials, and themselves, that is the children with Down syndrome themselves, to come grace the occasions, let them also feel to be part of the society, let them know we have equal opportunities, equal representation.
So Mr. Ba, I want to know about the structure, because I know this is founded by Seinabu Ture, obviously, and thumbs up to her. Her story is quite unique, considering that the children that she has have Down syndrome, and from there she's motivated to come up with this. I've been following the work that you've been doing, and I know at that point in time it wasn't structured, it was just general. So what is the structure now? What are you trying to achieve here? Are you going to focus on schools, persons with Down syndrome in schools, or are you going to do some community outreaches to identify these children to give them the support they need directly? I want to know what the structure is, because right now with what you're explaining is too general for me to accept, really.
Exactly. The structure is quite vague, as you rightly said. Our general focus initially was the communities.
Okay.
For our concentration was within the communities, because we all know there are a few schools within the combos that are supporting, or where these children with special needs go and have this, there they go and learn and or have other supports. But within the rural areas, there are no those equipments are not there, schools are not there, or even sometimes, for example, interpreters, they find it very difficult to have those materials. So we now said we want our structure to be nationwide. That is why we have focal person in each region, and in all these regions we supported 10 children from these regions. 10 children, we identified 10 children where we support them monthly. We monthly give them cash support and also foodstuffs to them and also to the family. So, but now during the launching, before the launching, we made our plan, and we said now we can also concentrate on supporting children that are within Greater Banjul area. So let's get in touch with the schools that are dealing with these children. That is why we invited them during the launching for them to grace it, and also bring some of the children from the provinces to also be part of the launching. But these are the two structures. We focus on the children in the schools, and also those are within the communities too.
Okay. Let's look at children with Down syndrome in our society. Society also plays a lot, because this has to do with the brain. How should society handle these people, starting from the house?
Thank you. I think we find it very difficult at the beginning, because sometimes these parents even hide these children, at least for them to access the children. So when we go, we have to convince the parents. Fine. In all this, in any compound that you go, it is very difficult for you to find someone who is not with Down syndrome. So we normally tell them that this is we have to at least bring them on board. We support them, because they cannot hide them. If they hide them, they will be traumatized, and they can do anything that they feel like doing, so that at least they can at least be mentally ill. So we discuss with them, and they appreciate us. What we normally tell them, fine, if they don't want us to publish their pictures or whatever, we at least leave it there, but we will support them. But let them just give them the names.
So do you provide counseling for families? Because first of all, when these parents have children with Down syndrome, it's new to them. You know, it's really a new phenomenon. People are yet to understand what Down syndrome is about. That there's a certain age that you have when you have children. Sometimes these people are prone to Down syndrome. People do not even know what the causes are. So do you provide some certain counseling for the parents themselves, for them to understand and accept, first of all? Through that, they'll be able to treat the children right.
Yes, during our outreach, we normally provide counseling, because our board members, all of them are trained on guidance and counseling. So that is why when they go to the field to discuss with the parents and the children themselves, they provide that counseling. They discuss with the parents, try to convince them. So, and then the parents do understand, fine, this is not their fault, and also it's not the fault of the children. So that is why they also at least tell us, now you can support them. But as long as you are supporting them, please let us know that anything that we are doing, make us, put in picture. So that is why always, whatever we are doing, we never make decisions on ourselves. We try to include them to make the unanimous decisions in terms of support, what they need, in terms of if we want even to bring them from their community to the combos, we do also tell them, can you come with your parents for an escort? So that they can also feel that we don't want to exploit their children. We don't want to at least use their children for certain things, but we just want to support them and also for them to be a part of the society. That is why we even emphasize during a lot of our engagements with these local authorities or whatever, we normally tell them they need to be represented. We should not represent them. They also need to be represented and let them feel what we are feeling. Let them also have benefits that we are having.
Where's the money coming from for the welfare of children with Down syndrome in the Gambia? Where's the money coming from? Because, you know, there are a lot of allegations put on non-profit organizations like this one that, you know, it's a profit-making venture for the founders, the secretary, the executive. So where's the money coming from? And is there any form of accountability mechanism that we can relate to know what you're doing with these children?
Yes.
And the money you're getting?
Exactly. All the money that comes to this organization is being raised by Seiture. She normally organizes GoFundMe. She organized this. When she received the funds, she sent them to our account. That is why we have the board. So that is why the board is there to scrutinize whatever the secretariat is doing. So if we didn't have the board, fine, we can mislead or embezzle the funds. That is why we have the board. And even the board, we also have our advisors. So, and then any money that is meant for a child, last 5 months that we supported, these children were identified and they were supported by specific people in UK. So those ones will just send funds, just like how Child Fund is doing. They will just send this fund, we are supporting these children, this amount. So when we are delivering the fund, we normally take pictures and we take videos to give them the cash and then send it back to the donors. So that is one form of accountability, and also sending pictures. Even the family, when we take videos, we interview them. How much do you get? How much are you? How much are we giving you? So they at least pronounce the amount that we are giving, so that the donors will also know that's the exact amount that we are giving to this.
Well, I know the reason why Jenna was asking.
Exactly.
Because one onion in a bag spoils the whole bag.
Exactly.
You know, we have received organizations here, I mean, on our news, I mean, organizations that are using certain ways just to get money. And at the end of the time, if you go deep, you won't see the intention. Yeah, so this is it. So how often do you engage, I mean, children around the provinces? Because it is very important. We just don't have to focus around the urban area, but we have a whole lot of them in other communities too.
Yeah, in our plans, we have a community outreach where all the focal persons will go to their respective regions, conduct sort of a mapping, sensitization and mapping, try to establish or check whether we have other children that are affected with this Down syndrome. We see how best we can support them, because the number that we have, fine, is limited at our side, but we want to extend. We want to support everyone. We don't want to exclude them. So anyone that need our support, as far as our outreach activities are concerned, we support them.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ba, for coming. Due to time constraints, I'm afraid we have to let you go, but we'll be following the progress of this particular organization, the Welfare of Children with Down Syndrome in the Gambia. There are a lot of children suffering with Down syndrome, but they do not even know what Down syndrome means. Where does it start? How do you help a child with that and all of that?
Well,
I think that is where we need to start.
Next time when we invite you here, we'll engage our local view.
And preferably,
and
preferably, Ibrahim, I think we also need a health personnel to be here with us to also educate us as to the causes and all of that.
Yes. Because when you say Down syndrome, most people don't.
No, it's completely new in Gambia. It's completely new in the Gambia.
You might be seeing the people, but you don't know.
Sometimes they suffer, but the diagnosis is not there. They do not even know that this person has Down syndrome and all of that. And you know, when you don't read about these things or take a look at health issues, tips here and there, then you wouldn't be able to know what this is. But Mr. Ba, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We will follow your progress, and do not hesitate to let us know if you feel like we can chip in at any point in time to support the development of this particular organization. So now we will go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll head right on to social issues. We'll be joined by the Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture, and we'll be talking about tourism in depth, taking a look at recovery mechanisms here and there, considering the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected the tourism sector. We will take a look at that in a few minutes. We will go for a short break, and when we come back, we are here.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. QCell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
Everything I touch turns into light. I am the light at the end of the tunnel, and my technology is the answer. I am the happiness in your life. I keep you connected, and I am Q-Power. I am QCell. I am Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow. Call 111 for more information.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. So, like I said, we are joined by the Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture for the first time on QTV this morning. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, our discussion today is in two components. One is a continuation, and another one is on issues relating to tourism. So the continuation here is in relation to a phone call we had with you the last time on our National Assembly nomination panel, talking about the participation of women in politics. And you clearly agreed with us that there's a lot of failure when it comes to accommodating women in our respective political parties. I think we can take it from there.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me again to put more clarity on that issue. I think it's very important for our viewers and Gambian, particularly women who are concerned that they don't have a voice, the rightful voice that they should in Parliament.
Right.
And I think if you are aware that the last sitting of Parliament, there have been a bill from the member for Banjul South that was presented before the National Assembly, taking into account the provision that was provided for in the draft constitution, giving reserved seats for women in Parliament. And there have been a lot of discussions and arguments all over the country. We've been watching with keen interest and following these arguments.
Right.
And a lot of women also came out, activists, some of them women activists, some of them, of course, just jumped into it, talking about the women's right to be in Parliament. And I don't think they've researched the subject much. And I don't think they've also reached out to people who could have helped them to understand the easiest way of getting it done. And as a government, we do not want to obstruct, impede anyone who has a view and feels that you have your own view and you want to propagate that view, or you want to put in that view, depending on how you want to do it.
All right.
But again, I believe that the issue of women representation in Parliament can be addressed without going through reserving seats in Parliament for women.
Okay, how?
Because even the provision, the draft constitution provision of reserving seats for women, was not wrong, but not very appropriate as far as I'm concerned. Okay. I think it's not about reserving seats. It's about visiting our electoral system. Okay. You see, you have different system of elections. And the current system that we have does not give women advantage to get into parliament. So you don't need to amend any constitution. All what you need to do is to amend your electoral law. Okay. And the system that we have in the Gambia is the Westminster system of elections. First past the post. Once you have more vote than more than the other candidate, you are the winner. So all the other votes fade into insignificance. Yeah. I'll give you an example. On the 3rd of January 1997, there was an elections in the Gambia, parliamentary elections. In the Bundunka Kunda constituency, where the then majority leader, Fabakary Tombong Jatta, hailed from, there were 3 strong candidates. I think the PDOIs had close to almost 8,000 votes, and the UDP candidate had almost close to 9,000 votes. And Fabakary Tombong Jatta had 9,000 plus. So he was declared the winner of that constituency. Right. Now, if you add the two parties' votes, that's the UDP vote and the PDOI's vote, far surpasses that of Fabakary Tombong Jatta. Right. Yeah. That means all those who voted for those two parties, their votes have not counted. Yes. That's why the Westminster system, first past the post, has a lot of disadvantage for women. Okay. So what we can do in this country to resolve this problem overnight, just within 2-3 months, we can resolve this problem without going through all this process, all this rancor, is to amend the Electoral Act and accept and adopt the proportional system of representation in Parliament. Okay. In the proportional system of representation in Parliament is the party that wins the seats. Before the elections, you know you have 53 seats. Each party presents 53 names. Names as per priority. Okay. Number 1 is going to be Mr. Y, number 2 going to be P, number 4 going to be, you know? Yeah. So you go for the elections. When you go for the election, the number of votes cast for that particular election is computed, appropriated into number of seats. So each party, depending on the number of votes, will determine how many seats you get from that 53 seats. Okay. You understand? Yeah, I get that. So in doing that, where we need to now correct the system is to tell the parties, when you are submitting your list, if you put 1 man, 1 woman. Okay. Or 1 man, 2 men, 1 woman. Or 2 women, 1 man. Okay. Okay. So when you get that, you submit that list. If your votes are computed and you have 10 seats, from number 1 to number 10 become members of parliament automatically. Right. They become parliamentarians automatically. There, you will not have a problem of women representation because they are already in the list. In the list. Okay, with so that in matter. The event whereas somebody resigns from that 10 or dies or something happens, number 11 become parliamentarian automatically. Right. It comes down to number 11. Right. If another person resign before the end of the term, number 12 comes to be a parliamentarian. Okay. But you have to list them in order of priority. Yeah, that depends on you. So now what the law can still dictate to cover for our women is to tell parties, look, every 2 men, there must be a woman after them. Or every list that you present, the first 1 or 2 need to be this. You understand? There the law is again dictated. You cannot put all that in that list of priority. Because you may not win 3, you may win 10, or you may win 5, but you are compelled that among that 5, there must be 3 women, or at least 2. But Honorable, don't you think that is so? That can solve the issue of women representation. Absolutely. But might not be the will of the people. No, as to it is the will of the people. The reason why I'm saying this, the votes that the people have voted are the ones that are computed. True. But because it is listed based on priority by the party, not by the people. The people of that party dictate how the list is done.
But not the majority, it's just limited to the party.
No, they go to vote based on that list.
On a Congress?
Yes. No, you're getting it wrong. The parties bring in their list. How they do it at the level of their parties, that is their business, but they submit to the Electoral Commission. So when the votes are computed, it determines how many seats you have. And in those number of seats, how many women were there by list of priority. Then your problem is solved. If you have submitted in your first 5 names 3 women and 2 men, or 2 men, 3 women, automatically they become parliamentarians. And that because people vote for your party. They give that vote for your party. It's not the person who wins the vote. It is the party that wins the vote, and the party determines who becomes a parliamentarian by the list presented to the Electoral Commission before the elections.
But anyway, is this your...
This is the proportional system of which South Africa is doing.
Yes.
I mean, that's why you see a lot of those parliamentarians. Senegal, 50% of their seats are on proportional representation. You can have a mixed system. You can have a mixed system where you have portion of the seats can be on first past the post, portion of the seat can be on proportional representation. But that is the only way you can get women fully represented in parliament.
It's like most of the women don't understand this system.
Yes.
I mean, a whole lot of them are advocating for women to be part of the parliament, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
But, I mean, do you think this is favorable to other politicians and political parties?
It is very favorable to political parties, particularly the opposition. And it challenges the government. Almost all the party leaders become parliamentarians. You have sound, credible parliamentarian because your party present list of people who are credible, who can represent the people in parliament, and they take the government to task. Because when you present the list, you must present a list of credible people. And that, in that system, almost every party leader comes to parliament because whatever vote you get is computed. And then that determines, even if you get 1 seat, the party leader comes in. Somebody comes next. And that's the best system that would challenge any government in any democracy.
Yeah, but
because when you use the first past the post, you can always go and campaign with resources to win the elections. Are you with me?
Right.
And then, of course, the person who is there as a candidate become the winner. But if you now go on a system of proportional representation, if you get even 3 seats, that will be credible 3 seats because the first 3 that you presented must be among the most trusted in the party in terms of delivering.
But, Honorable, my problem is the fact that it's the trusted people in the party, not the majority.
What do you mean by majority? Majority cannot be in parliament. They only vote somebody to be in parliament.
I don't think you're getting my point here. What I'm trying to put across is, I understand what you mean.
Members of that party determine who becomes a parliamentarian in that list.
Well, therefore, that selection, Honorable Minister,
it's based on the party members.
The selection is done within the party criteria.
That is too enclosed.
No, it's within their party internal democracy.
Yes, but that's where the problem. You see, most of these women are advocating for change. I mean, you will see political parties will not look at the priority of women in their party level. All they will do is to select men to represent them.
No. If the law says you must put women there must be women. That's what I'm saying. The electoral law will have to take all that into account. All these issues you're talking about will be amended in the current law to make it suitable for women to be in parliament.
Well, if that is the way that it is going to be,
you must make sure that the electoral system addresses
reflects all of these things.
All this you're talking about.
Well, if that is how it's going to be,
you cannot just sit there as a party leader, put all men in that list, and leave the women away. And the women are the people who are forced to be at the polling station to vote.
Yes.
So the Electoral Act will address that.
Okay.
You understand?
If that is going to happen,
address that.
Yes.
I think that will be okay.
This will be the solution to all the problem of women represented in parliament.
But
the issue of reserving seats does not really go.
But Honorable,
let me tell you,
yes,
women have a right to stand for their stand. And they are equally important like any other person. Why should we reserve for them? Let's make the law to accommodate them and make sure that they can be in parliament.
Right.
Reserving seats, when you hear the word reserving, it means you are favoring somebody.
Not necessarily.
No, I'm saying that's what it looks like. Yeah. It seems to give that you are giving a favor to a particular. It's not a favor, it's their right. Let the law reflect that to say, look, we go through by the proportional system of representation and parties present their list And in that list, women must take center stage in it.
Anyway,
Period.
I just, it's better said than done.
No,
but
this
let's
is
just
the
see.
law.
Yes,
The
if
law,
it
the
happens, it is the law. If we reach that
will
stage.
specify that.
Yes, if we reach
right
that
now
stage.
we have an electoral act.
Yeah.
It's just to amend it. Period.
Yeah, like I said, better said than done. Looking forward to when that will happen, and it's debatable. This is debatable. I'm not here to debate that, but it is debatable. Hopefully, the people watching now, they will start to compare the two and try to see which one.
Let me tell you.
But
the Westminster system.
Yes.
The one who have the power most, really.
Right.
It's not sometimes the best system.
Right.
You find good parliamentarians voted out of parliament because they don't have maybe the means to reach out to people here and there.
True.
But all these vices within that system will be addressed when you take up this proportional system of representation.
Yeah, so Honorable, let's shift our attention now from that to tourism and culture. I want to start with something very important. The National Center for Arts and Culture, musicians, individuals in the performing arts industry do not have confidence in the National Center for Arts and Culture. And the evidence is on there and it's on record. We've had representative from the National Center for Arts and Culture come here. We've questioned them. What is the center doing? We've had artists, individuals from the creative art industry on record saying they do not have confidence in this particular body, and that the concentration of the ministry is on tourism and not on arts and culture.
That's far from the truth. I think the amount of resource government have invested since we took over into National Center have gone over 300%. Go and ask anybody. Records are there to speak for themselves. And we've already started implementing the royalties, the royalty collection system. We've already created the secretariat, and the system have already started moving to make sure that musicians can collect royalties from the National Center for Arts and Culture. That has never been before. We came up with a new cultural policy since 2 years ago, and they know that they are consulted of every decision that the center is taking. We have professionals there. It cannot be overnight. What they want, what they never dreamt of that now happening is now happening. But this needs to take time. The structures must be, the institution must be built. And already we've recruited staff since 2 years ago to start this process. And this process is on, and the secretariat is moving. We're still moving to develop it. By the next 2 years, I'm sure no musician will come back to say that I've not paid my royalties and there is no collection being done.
Yeah, but it's beyond royalties. They're talking about response when they have events and engagements with the National Center for Arts and Culture, and some sort of favoritism they are talking about happening internally. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Well, you see, there will always be accusation of people here and there. I mean, it's normal. That's human. For somebody always to accuse each other that you are favoring X and not favoring Y, that's a possibility. But I can assure you that the Director General of the National Center of Arts and Culture is highly trusted, and I have no doubt that he's delivering. There may be some shortcomings. I agree. There is possibility that there could be shortcomings. But I can assure you that the support the center have given to artists, there is no time in history that we've ever done that as we speak now. We cannot do it automatically, overnight. We are aware that, of course, there are concerns as we speak, particularly myself. I've just raised that issue yesterday, and I'm going to have a meeting with them, and that's regarding the foreign artists that are coming to the Gambia. With regard to, you know, what level of taxation we have to revisit this, because we want to encourage our artists really to be also doing a lot more performance.
Right.
But again, we must go back to our artists too. If they outprice themselves from the system, Gambians would find it difficult to really be part of what they are doing. But I think Gambians are now believing in their artists, and our artists are coming up very well. And we just need to see how best we can help them market them internationally so that they can go beyond the Gambian borders. You know, history repeats itself. Before, it was the Gambian artists going to Senegal, the Fambondis, the Gelewar, the Maga bands, Magadan bands. These are the bands who everybody was listening in Senegal in all the radios. And if you look at history, most of these famous Senegalese musicians were trained in Banjul. They came, lived here, trained here, mastered the system, and go back to Dakar and then Senegal and became great musicians.
Right.
We are proud of what we have done historically, but we need to come back again and take ownership of these things. And this cannot be overnight issue. We need to work on it. And that's what the center is doing as we speak now. They're doing everything possible to make sure that Gambian artists are spotted all over the world. and that they perform at every level. And that's why we're giving them the support. They cannot also get it, as I said, overnight, automatically. This thing needs to take time and space.
I don't know, for some reason, most people in the arts industry do not have confidence in the National Center for Arts and Culture. We've invited a whole lot of people here. All they talk about is National Center for Arts and Culture are not favoring us. I mean, they are not taking good care of us.
Artists have gone to the extent of saying that they want a separation of the tourism ministry from the culture.
Well, you cannot separate these two.
Yes, but they've gone to that extent. Their frustration have led them
you cannot separate them, because it's the art that fits in tourism, and tourism also fits into arts. Because if the tourists that come, who visits you, where do you collect your money? Where do you make your money? So if also these places, these artists are not there, these historic sites are not there, the tourists will not come here. I just want to tell you that they are intertwined. They work together. But again, when people have concern, I've always told them, come and see us. Give us your concern in writing. We will always look into it and try to address it. But let me tell you that there is no way you can satisfy everybody. And there will always be some disgruntled ones who will always go and speak and say things that are not correct and mislead the public. And it always happens. I'll give you an example. I came here, and then there was a press conference I had 2 weeks ago, few months ago, 3 weeks ago, where I said we have 53 flights a week.
I was coming to that
and away. And then Bombsers Association came and said that it was not happening. When we challenged them, they wrote to us to apologize that they never even...
So the 53 flights is so?
They say it's not even, they don't even have the mandate to even deny what I said. They have no statistics. I can send you the letter that they wrote apologizing for what has happened. You know, they said somebody said it and they disowned that person. It was not even nothing to do with them. They wrote to us, to the ministry, complaining that those people were speaking on their own. They have no basis of collecting any statistics to deny anything that we said.
So, Honorable, you are telling us that the 53 flights weekly is true?
This is Civil Aviation Gambia Tourism Board Authority facts. Who can deny that? Somebody, a tourist guide, associating there saying that it doesn't happen.
But maybe they are not seeing the tourists around.
No. That's not true. We are not stopping there. Those who said it will be dealt with because they lied. And I've said it before, anybody who lied against us will deal with you. The association have associated themselves from it, but those who said it will have to face the law.
Okay.
But it's on the basis that they are not seeing the physical tourists.
No, they said flights. They did not say tourists. They said flights.
Yeah,
not
the
tourists.
53.
Yes, that's what they are denying, which is not true. They lied. We are right. The association have written to us denouncing that, but they now have to explain where they get the statistics, why they lied against us. They have to. You cannot go on misleading people. This system has to end in this country. People must speak with authority and facts when they speak. It's easy to say I right to apologize when you know that what you are saying in the first place, you have no data, you have no information. You just want to go and sit there and stand there and talk to be on headlines when you know that what you are saying is not true. The association have written, distanced themselves from the president down, that the vice president and the other guy who spoke did not speak on their behalf. They believe the statistics supplied by Civil Aviation and GT Board were accurate and credible.
That 53 flights.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Honorable Minister, let's focus on tourism now.
Yes.
I can remember a few years ago, I interviewed you in your office. I was with GT Board. I interviewed you about Abuko Nature Reserve.
Yes.
I mean, you promised that, I mean, there will be animals coming.
Oh, yes.
The condition of the Abuko Nature Reserve is really terrible. I visited there not long ago. There's nothing to see, Honorable Minister.
Let me help you. It's good. I said it. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
The Ministry of Environment and Wildlife agreed and worked out, signed an MOU with Fatala. You know Fatala?
Right.
In Senegal.
Yes.
Now, Fatala started the project, COVID came in. And indeed, of course, that's the story. The minister is away. I contacted him 2 weeks ago regarding Fatala coming back, but you know now everybody's trying to recover.
Yes.
Before you expand, you must consolidate where you were. But that's the story. But they've already started the project.
Yes, I can remember.
They started the project,
Yes.
but COVID came in, and then of course the project.
Yes, I can remember it's within those times that this COVID thing came.
Yes,
So
exactly.
are you trying to bring Fatala to Gambia?
We already signed a contract with Fatala to restock Abu.
Yes, I think we need to do that because
to restock it.
To restock it, but not to bring kind of Fatala brand in the Gambia.
No, they just need to restock it with our own with our own ecosystem.
Okay, and when that happens, they have a percentage, or you're...
Well, that's a contract they sign. I don't want to go into the detail.
Yeah, but we need to know, like, accountability, because we do not want next minute people say allegedly this happened.
They signed a contract with the environment, wildlife. What I have no access to that contract, but
so
I know that...
you don't know what is in the contract?
No, I have not read the contract.
But Honorable, don't you think you should read
but
these
of course,
things to avoid corruption and problems?
If they are investing money
yes.
into it, they must be investing to make profit. There's no doubt
that
about
it.
True. But be rest assured that Gambia government also will not give out Abuko just for free for everybody.
That
you
is
know
true,
that.
but Honorable,
so I promise
I
can ask you that when the Minister of Environment, you have every right to call him here and ask him and talk to him, and he will respond to you about that contract.
Yeah, I think that...
And he will give you detail of that contract.
I think people, like, you should be quick about that, because, I mean, seeing our tourists coming to the Gambia and going to our neighboring country...
that's why we came up with that idea. Yeah. And not only that, let me also tell you what Gambia government did. We went to Zimbabwe. We went to Zimbabwe, we met the Zimbabwean government, and the Zimbabwean government also is in the process of supporting us to bring in, restock some of Kiang Forest Park and other parks in the Gambia. That process on. South Africa also offered to do the same thing. Well, we are not relying, government is not relying on Fatala. We are alone. Okay. We've already, I flew to Zimbabwe, myself and the environment minister and our team of technicians, and we met the Zimbabwean government, and they are ready to give in these animals. There was a study done prior to us coming to government. I think to the almost tail end, the animals were to be taken to a private zoo, which, of course, the government of Zimbabwe and South Africa said, no, we are working for a government to government and not that. So when we came in, we revived that contact. And that process is still ongoing. As I said, COVID brought a delay to all these things. But we are not relying on Fatala to restock some of our nature reserves. Yes.
What about our heritage sites?
Yes, on heritage, yes.
On heritage, as we speak now, as we speak now, I'm going right now to this World Bank meeting. Yeah. We are optimistic that our Kinta Kunte Island will be finally restored back to normalcy, back to its glory, and we are working on getting the Fort Bulen also, the restoration that needs to be done there, and all other important
sites. How about
sites.
Mongo Park?
Mongo Park, the contract, I think, is being awarded as we speak now.
Okay. Awarded to a Gambian?
Yeah, of course.
Please don't forget Wasu.
Wasu is completed.
Yes, you've done a wonderful job at Kirbach. I visited Kirbach. It's amazing.
Yeah, Wasu also is done, completed, and we are now, the contract for Mongo Park is awarded. And the World Bank process is on. We want to restore all our beaches and restore the Kinta Kunte James Island back to its glory, reclaim all that was lost, and the work is ongoing.
Yes.
And we believe that we have our efficient staff who are working 24 hours almost round the clock to get this done, concluded with the World Bank.
So Honorable, let's talk about education, the decentralization of tourism education in the Gambia, because that was part of the things that you looked at during the press conference.
Well, yes, you see, with the collaboration we have and cooperation with YEP, we started training in Farafenye for the LRR North Bank area. And then we started Janjambure for Basse and Janjambure area. Right now, West Coast was left out. We are now doing something to collaborate with UPCAS and other ones so that we can also develop the same curriculum, the same training program for the West Coast. If you realize there are more lodges and hotels now expanding, particularly in the West Coast, than any other part of the Gambia. So there is a need to train locals so that they will stay in their villages, live there, go to work, and come back to their houses. Instead of hiring people from here, taking them there is costing these people a lot of money. And even to accommodate them is a problem. So therefore, that's why we felt that training people locally in their homes will be easier for the investors, and then it makes it better for all of them. It's a win-win situation. But if not, when you train, what the problem we are experiencing again, when we train them in the province, some of them leave the provinces to come back in the urban area. And that, again, we need to find a way how we can get a solution to that. Because we are training them for them to be able to stay in their localities and then work there and operate there. But if you train them and they live there and then come back to the city again, it becomes another problem. But we are trying to address, you cannot finish all of it, but we are trying to address this issue.
But Honorable, I want to take you back because I insist, I want to understand why this is the case. In several interviews, when you are asked about certain contracts, you say you have not seen them, or you are not looking into them. I just want, why is that? Because
wildlife is not under my purview.
It is not, but considering that it is tourism related.
I was consulted that they were having this program, and I am happy with that. I trust and believe in people. They did the contract with the Ministry of Environment, and we're happy with that as a ministry, parent ministry. That's we don't have a problem with that. It is not our ministry, but we work together with them.
But it's under your jurisdiction.
No, it's not. Wildlife is not under my jurisdiction.
Yeah, but it's under tourism at the end. The reason why you cited it is because you want to
supply them the resources. We supply them the resources, but we are not responsible of the parks. That is under the Ministry of Environment.
True, but
we limit ourselves to what is within us. What is not within our domain, we can manage to a certain level, but we do not overstep our boundaries. I think you need to underline.
Well, before we take a leave of you, Honorable Minister, I just want us to clarify the TDA. I mean, there is a whole lot of encroachment in the TDA.
Right.
I mean, I can remember I visited the TDA and I've seen people constructing.
Yes.
I mean, and still people are doing the same thing.
Let me help you. One of our biggest challenges in this country is people to understand the importance of this TDA. You see, if you go to a country like Spain, they still bank part of their land for the next 50 years that nobody will touch, because you need to preserve these places for generations to come.
Right.
Unfortunately, the situation we found ourselves here, alcalos don't seem to even understand their boundaries where they can stop. You know that. You've been there.
Yes.
And they go to these estate agents who also don't understand sometimes the implication of what they do. They take land that doesn't belong to them, start selling it to people, and then only to discover that the land is not your land. And those people have spent all their life working in Europe to buy a property, only to find themselves that they don't have a property. They end up in endless court cases. So that's why we've now had our own legal department within the Gambia Tourism Board. And they are doing a fantastic job.
I think I will acknowledge that. Gambia Tourism Board, they are doing a great job when it comes to the TDA, because sometimes they'll just tell me, Balde, pick a camera, we go visit the
but
TDA.
also there are criticisms when it comes to the TDA, as in that, coming from the public, that these areas are most of the time given to foreigners for their investment.
That is not correct. I can tell you the statistics does not indicate that. It does not. As I said,
is there a policy to give priority to Gambians?
If they have the money. If they have the money. Not to keep the land and speculate for 13 years. When I took over, I found Gambians who own land for 20 years, they never invested a dime in it. And they went to lease it in their names in violation of even the provision that of allocation that was given to them. They were sitting on this land, some of them for 20 years. They never spent a dime. 13 years, they never spent a dime. We re-entered it and gave it to people. Today you go there are hotels.
Well, I think there is a particular agreement that, I mean, you have to build the land
within a period of time. You cannot go and claim that I'm a Gambian, let they give you land. When you cannot build it, somebody is there who have money to come and build and create jobs and move the economy forward. And when it's taken away from here, you said Gambians are deprived. There are no Gambians. Genuine Gambians are building. We have Gambians who have built more than 6 hotels in 2 years.
Right.
More than 6 hotels in 2 years.
But generally, the priority is not given to foreigners.
Why should it be? I mean, it's given to people who have money and can invest and want to invest in this country. And for us, as far as you have the money, we do not discriminate.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us.
I have one issue that I just want to mention there.
Okay.
You see, the tourism recovery you didn't talk about.
Yes.
I'm sorry you don't have time. But let me give you just 1 minute. Sir.
Yes.
When the Gambia came up with the policy that anybody vaccinated can come without a PCR, we have been criticized. Today, we made a name. Today, the number of tourist flights coming are just said, we are happy with that.
Okay.
And I can tell you that most countries now are copying the Gambia. So the issue of PCR, we believe and we hope will disappear soon. What is important, as I said, let everybody go and get vaccinated.
Okay.
Gambians, go and get vaccinated.
But Honorable, we also have the civil aviation to confirm the issue of the 53 flights surrounding it, just so we know.
We gave you the names.
All right.
We gave you the date and time,
and
and flight details.
Okay, so
all the flight details are there.
Yeah, so Honorable, that is all we have time for till we come your way tomorrow. Bye for now.
bu ne yelloo na ndox mu set te ndox mu set dafa bokk ci dundi doomu aadama te biir kat amul seetu waral na lépp lu fay dugg dafa war a doon li nga xamante ne ni lu indil doomu aadama bi loraange ci wàllu wérgu yaram One Stop Water Solution Limited ñu ngi fii ci biir réew taxaw temm fexe pour gis ne doomu aadama bu ne di nga naan ndox moo xamante ne ni ndex mu sell te wóor la ndax indil nañ leen ay xeetu filtres yi nga xamante ne ni mun ngeen koy jëfandikoo ci seeni pompe yi ci biir réew moo xam booxool ngay jëfandikoo wala pompe nawek yi ne bépp xeetu filtre bi nga xamante ne ni dina la indil wérgu yaram musal la ci loraange amal nañ leen ko ci biir réew am nañ 10-inch filter set of 3 bii nag ñett lay àndal bu ci ne ak li muy liggéey bokk na ci 5 micron pp sediment filter bii nag mooy segg ndox mi ba mu set génnee fa lépp li nga xamante ne ni warta ànd ak ndox moomu bala nga koy jëfandikoo gak granule carbon filter bii nag mooy segg génnee lépp lu xeetoog chemical ak organique yi nga xamante ne ñoom ñoo nekk ci biir ndox mi sellal ndox mi ba waral mu soppi li nga xamante ne moom la ndox mi di saf mu soppi cafin gi def ko ndox mu sell te óor CTO block carbon filter bii nag du yem rek ci segg ndox mi sellal ko ba mu sell waaye nag daf koy yokk ay ngéneel yi nga xamante ne ni day baax ci wérgu yaramu doomu aadama bi dëgëral waaye tamit yàggal lool sa yuur wi am nañ tamit 12-inch filter set of 3 boobu it liggéey bu nu mel lay def ñetti filter yépp benn bu ne ak lu muy liggéey am nañ 10-inch post carbon 10-inch coconut carbon 75 GPD pure one membrane bi amal nañ leen bépp xeetu water tank tàmbalee ko ci 500 litres 5000 ba ci 1000 litres ak plumbing fittings kon nag mbokk yi bu ngeen buggee naan ndex yu sellate wóor seeti leen One Stop Water Solution Limited suñu màkkaan bu mag baa nga foofa ca Sukuta Highway Mariama Kunda Johnson wala nga call ñu ci 505 5691 796 8272 One Stop Water Solution Limited ndox mu set mooy yàggal dund ni doomu